Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. I'm joined by 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙥 on audio, so you will not get to see his video feed in this episode. And let's first welcome 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙤. 𝙒𝙧𝙤, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar, and very happy to be here, and very good morning. And sorry that due to some issues with the internet, I'm coming on your audio line.
No worries, sir. And viewers, you can see that we have 345 going today, and we have some very important news to start with. Let's start first with what is happening in the markets around the world. Markets have slid, and there's a fear of recession, and that has meant that the oil prices have also started taking a beating. See, this is despite the OPEC cuts, isn't it?
But this is despite the OPEC cuts, and this is despite Russia continuing to supply oil to the different parts of the world with sanctions unable to be enforced. So what we are seeing here is a predictable pattern of inflation being driven, from the perspective of still the supply chain issues plaguing the market. If you recall, we had mentioned the Fed and the central bank, can only address the demand side, but not the supply side. And we are beginning to see the cascading effect. The fact that Europe or EU is going to follow and do a jumbo rate sends fears across the markets, which means that there is an almost imminent recession with price issues, inflation issues, and the rates being hiked simultaneously.
And India, with exports of 670 billion in fiscal year 22, is working towards a bigger export goal. To learn more about this, 𝙒𝙧𝙤, can you expand what India's goals are? Because everybody is still trying to save themselves, whereas India seems to be...
India is on the move. It's very evident that I think while people are focused around whether I get out of pandemic and what I need to do from a fiscal point of view, address the issues around inflation and energy prices and the impact, India is marching ahead. If you recall, we had given a whole set of numbers, I think 1 or 2 sessions ago, and we had indicated that India in calendar year 2022, India had hit about 420 billion, but fiscal year starts from 1st April to March 31st. And FY22, we just finished, India reported, almost close to $620 billion of exports, which is a phenomenal number. And more important, I think they set themselves a target of $2 trillion by 2030. And one would hope that by 2030, India's economy is somewhere inching towards the 10 trillion mark, well past the 5 trillion. If that's the case, the 2 trillion is a very healthy number. And out of the 620, 250 billion came from services, which is all the stuff in terms of the people buy from services that India provides across various categories.
And Philippines says that it may allow the United States military access in the event of a Taiwan military invasion by China. 𝙒𝙧𝙤, now South China is pretty crowded. South China Sea is pretty crowded. It's pretty shallow also. And these people have used some islands to create some naval bases, China. This whole place is looking really, really difficult for China. Even for Taiwan, at most they may be able to get one of those uninhabited islands that belong to Taiwan. What do you think, sir?
Well, I think that your point, it is extremely crowded. That Philippines is saying, because you remember Marcos Jr. is now the new president of Philippines. He has announced in United States that, or his embassy has announced that they would support, using military bases of Philippines by the United States in the event Philippines itself has a security issue. Very similar to Korea and Taiwan, United States has a military partnership in Philippines as well.
Last item for today, a very, very interesting item. China says it will be paying for Russian oil in Yuan. For the longest time, this was supposed to be in either euro or in ruble. How did this happen, sir?
Well, I think that it's, you remember that both of them have aspirations to float their currencies, right? Which is to make the currency So now you are beginning to see Russia and China trying to flex their muscles with the assumption that this could give the what you call as the jumping point or the inflection point for their currencies to become relevant. Still, Euro and US are the most dominant currencies. Less than 7 to 8% of the volume is traded either in ruble or China is Yuan is only about 2.5%. So it's interesting to see as to how these guys are pitching themselves in trying to put their currency, as potential pivot point.
Russia wants to buy missiles from North Korea now. That kind of gives you an indication that Russia's ammunition, they're running out. We've been saying this. People don't believe us when we say this, that Russia is actually on the losing side here. Ukraine is a much smaller, unorganized, ragtag kind of army, but it is yet able to effectively resist Russia. And now Ukraine is on a counteroffensive. So we will take a quick look at that and then we will wrap it up. Sridharji, your thoughts on the counteroffensive that Ukraine has tried?
You made an excellent point, Shriji, which is to say the dwindling Russian supplies and the accelerated and enhanced equipment to Ukraine. Ukraine is receiving support in two ways. One, it is receiving support by way of money. Second, it is receiving support by way of equipment, and including drones and HIMARS from United States, and even the Stinger missiles from Germany, plus drones. Apparently, the drones from Turkey has played a significant part in neutralizing the Russian army. So Russia has got a problem in terms of keeping its supplies with bans and sanctions. And what does it do? It goes to one of the most unwanted nations, North Korea, to see what it can do in terms of augmenting and continuing to stay in the fight.
Thank you very much, Sridharji. And viewers, that brings us to a close of today's episode. We'll be back again tomorrow, bright and early. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.